Say Never Festival is a music festival that takes place in Mission, Texas. It started in 2009 and it was created by a couple guys from the area, Zar Castillo and George Culberson. They are both promoters for shows, and they decided they want to start Never Say Never as an attempt to bring Midwestern music acts to the South so that people living in the area didn't have to travel super far to see these bands from the Midwest. And it's a lot like Vans Warped Tour, but on a smaller scale. Instead of the whole summer, it's one day, and instead of 7 stages, there are 3. There's only about 30 bands as compared to Vans Warped Tour's like 70 in a day. It's also compared a lot to So What music festivals. So What takes place in Dallas the same week as Never Say Never. So, and actually a lot of the same bands play both festivals. So Never Say Never is just kind of like the baby to So What. Never Say Never was a lot of fun for several different reasons. There was like no one there, like maybe 500 people tops for this outdoor music festival, which is kind of disappointing, but it was really cool because when like no one's there, the bands will just come out and come hang out and take pictures with fans and just talk and have conversations and connect with fans, and that's really cool to see. It really gives you insight as to who the band members are as people rather than just icons and rather than just entertainers.
I'll say goodnight. In the morning I will wake up to a blinding light and curse on my mistakes and say I'm not what you think. I'll break up.
My favorite thing about Never Say Never is probably the fact that all the bands on the bill were bands that like started playing music together. They were all bands that played like basement shows together. So they knew each other before they really like got famous or whatever. Like all these bands would be standing side stage watching their friends perform, singing along to all the songs, like having a good time. It was like seeing them as people. They were not only performers and musicians, but they were fans of music, and seeing that was really cool. Because everything was so like relaxed at this music festival, a lot of bands were just throwing on guest vocals, especially since they're all friends, so they all know each other's music. They would just grab musicians from bands they don't even like, that aren't even on their tracks, and just do guest vocals. For example, Caleb Shomo, the lead singer of Beartooth, jumped on with State Champs and just sang for the hell of it, like just because they wanted to. The band Real Friends put out an album about a year ago. It was like last summer. And on the album is a track called Loose Ends, and Loose Ends features Chris Roeder, the lead singer of Like Moths to Flames. Even though they're friends, they don't really tour together. They're not exactly the same genre of music. So Never Say Never was the first time since this album was released that they were both on the same tour at the same show. And so Real Friends pulled Chris Roeder out on stage, and he was able to sing his part of Loose Ends live for the first time in history ever. And so that was really awesome. Overall, the festival was kind of like a joke. It took bands forever to set up, and things just weren't going as smoothly as they should have. The people who worked this festival actually all looked like volunteers. A lot of events services staff are volunteers, but these people looked like high schoolers, like they only volunteered so that they could get their ticket into the festival. None of them could catch crowd surfers, so they were standing there, and it was just, people were dropping, and it was a disaster. Apparently they were having technical difficulties on the main stage. How the management of the festival went about dealing with the technical difficulties is what really just kind of turned me off to this whole festival. They started having difficulties on the main stage during the band The Devil Wears Prada. So there was 2 bands left after them, Beartooth and then Deftones would close out the night. But they kicked off Beartooth off the main stage, and they were just going to move them so they would still get to play, but they had to fix the lighting and the sound and everything so that Deftones could come on and play, which is no big deal. Like, technical difficulties happen all the time, especially with outdoor venues and outdoor music festivals. So we were all chill about it, except now, almost completely through the day, like there's a couple hours left of this festival, they finally decide that everything's behind schedule, so they're going to start cutting. So it started with I See Stars, like they're almost ready to go on, everything's set up, everything's ready to go, and then Dylan, their merch guy, is setting up the laptop so that they can play their techno, and something's not working. And so he's fiddling around with stuff, and then a couple of the band guys come up and try to fix it, and it's not working. The stage manager comes on stage and tries to fix something, and then he goes back and you can hear him on the microphone, and he's like, "You've got 5 minutes left, you have to figure this out." And so they're running around, and then the stage manager just cuts them. They're like, "You took too long, you can't play." Like Monster Flames came on, and they only got to play 4 songs because their time was cut. I don't know what went on backstage, but for whatever reason, they were going to cut Beartooth completely. And the Contortionists is literally the last band on this stage. They're tearing down, and Beartooth just comes on and starts setting up in front of them. Didn't wait for them to be done, just starts setting up, and they start playing. They ended up playing 3 songs before the stage manager cut them, told them their time was done. The next day after the festival, on social media, pictures were posted from all these bands, and it was revealed that none of the bands actually got paid for playing this venue. I've seen over 170 bands live at this point in my life. A lot of those bands I've seen, 6, 7 times. I've been attending the Vans Warped Tour since 2009. At least once every summer, sometimes twice or even 3 times in the summer. And so I'm not a newcomer when it comes to concerts, and I definitely mean it when I say that Never Say Never Music Fest was probably the worst festival concert I've ever gone to in terms of organization and time management and basically everything outside of the music. The performances were great, the music was good, set lists were perfect, but the festival itself was garbage, and I would never pay money to go back.